Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 16, 2013. This is the 10 a.m. work session of the commissioners. All three commissioners are present, along with our county administrator, Mr. Grant Luther. We invited today...
Is he still on probation?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. A little more grizzled this week, though.
We have invited today Mr. Joe Concatto, who is the actually the contract employee to SCOG with regard to issues associated with dispatch, as well as radio issues that have come into his realm, as well as primarily right now is the examination of the CAD bids and proposals. I asked Joe really to come in and provide an update. He had a meeting, and again, I was late for that meeting, but again, he introduced this item again to the 911 Governance Board.
Governance Board, SCOG.
Which is mostly composed of primarily chiefs both on the police and fire side of the issue. That was held, I think, last Thursday at the sheriff's office.
Correct.
There was a general discussion again on all of the things that we're going to discuss today. So I asked Joe to come in and update all of us on where you are, in particular, I guess, first off on the CAD system and then on other issues.
Good. Should I start?
Please.
I'd like to start with the idea, or with the fact that we have reviewed a state CAD system. The state of Ohio, similar to what they're doing with their Marks radio system, want to do a state CAD system for municipalities and different dispatch centers in the state. At this point in time, they have no municipality or no one other than their own, excuse me, their own state agencies, including the State Highway Patrol, as part of this statewide CAD system. So we attended a meeting of the advisory board of Marks. It's been, I don't know, 5-6 weeks ago, a month ago. Commissioner Burnaby was with us, and we discussed, not only were they discussing the CAD, they were discussing the Marks radio system. So we did a further review of the state system. We had a conference call with our consultant and our project team for our CAD system here in the county, and the state's their technical people for their CAD system. They operate a Premier One CAD system, which is a Motorola CAD system, and Motorola did bid on our Countywide system. Our conference call was about 2.5 hours. Again, our consultant was on the call, our project team was on the call with theirs. And after we discussed this for the 2 hours, we got into it individually on our own team and our own consultant, and realized that beyond the cost that would be given to us by the state, or be asked of us from the state, we had an individual cost of about $1.7 million on our end to be a participant in the CAD system. And these fees were basically Motorola
These are
fees.
to supplement the state CAD. Using
That's
the
correct.
state CAD would cost us an additional $1.7 million locally to make the thing work.
That's correct. That would, and a lot of it was license fees for the workstations.
And that's startup cost, not recurring?
The startup costs, one-time license fee costs. Once we looked at that from a financial standpoint, when we had bids from a CAD system was less than that, we thought from a financial standpoint it wouldn't be advisable for us to get into this CAD system for a number of reasons. One, financially. Number two, we would be the first non-government, non-state government agency to be involved in this, so we were sort of going to be the, if I may use the word, the guinea pig. And so we looked at that. Also, we looked at the technology. Although Premier One has a good technology from a CAD system, we were concerned about the GIS. We think, and as our consultant also agrees, that we have probably here in this county have one of the best GIS systems, mapping systems in the state. And we didn't want to compromise that, and we thought that their GIS system and their mapping system being a statewide was less than what we had in this county. So from a technology standpoint, from a financial standpoint, and for the mere reason we didn't want to be the first ones to create the mistakes so they could fix them, we determined that the state option was not something that we wanted to move forward with. So we sort of eliminated that. We are still looking at a countywide CAD system. We still have our 9 bids in. We have determined to move forward on trying to get down to the 2 or 3 bidders that we believe would be the best for the county. We have a meeting on Thursday with our project team, and we were going to start the matrix that our consultant and RCC consultants have provided for us to determine how well these bids match our RFP and match our needs. So that's going to be a little bit time consuming for our project team, probably take us at least 30 to 40 working hours, and except for myself, the project team all have full-time jobs. I don't have a full-time job, but anyway, we will look at that and try to get down to the 2 or 3 best bids, not necessarily price-wise, but best bids for our CAD team, and then present them again to you as commissioners, because you do have control of the purse strings that will buy this, if that's the direction we go in. I can tell you we're probably looking at something that's going to be about $1.5 million from a CAD system, and we're probably looking at somewhere ranging from $600,000 to $900,000 on a 5-year maintenance agreement. We have talked previously that the CAD system could be or would be purchased by you, the commissioners, out of the funds that have been contributed to the 911. However, the maintenance fees would be distributed among the dispatch centers that would participate in this. And right now, the 3 major dispatch centers that we're talking about is the Red Center in Canton and the Sheriff. Those would be, and when I talk about $600,000 to $900,000, again, that's a 5-year. You can divide that by 5, and then again divide it by 3. Most of the dispatch centers, Canton pays probably right now about $65,000 on their maintenance fee for their present CAD system, which is old. The county is in need of a CAD system. They have their own CAD system that they design. Red Center doesn't pay quite that much, but would probably be interested in it. And then we would go to the other dispatch centers, and if they wanted to participate, they would have a fee also.
Does Stark County pay maintenance fees now, or is it built into the overhead of the labor?
It's built into they do have some maintenance fees, but it's basically built in because they built their own CAD system. They have one person there that pretty much is the person involved with that system.
Bruce McAllister.
Bruce, yes, McAllister. So I think his wages are part of that, and they do have some maintenance. I'm not sure exactly what they are. But in talking with with Sheriff Meyer, he would be anxious to get a new CAD system for their dispatch center.
Now, long term, would the state system and our system, would they be compatible at all? Is that
in this day of age, they could be compatible.
okay?
Yes, we didn't get into that too much, but they could be compatible. I mean, in today's age of technology, you do that.
Right.
We wouldn't necessarily have to take
So if
the
state would
Motorola
get
bid
theirs,
to be
yeah.
compatible. We could take any bid, and I'm sure make it compatible with the state if we wanted. So we are proceeding with the CAD in at least to try to determine the 3 best bidders or the 2 best bidders, and then they would have to come in for a demo. But before we would do the demo, we would come back to you and suggest to you what we have and see where you're at with whether you want to proceed with the CAD system. That's where we're at with the CAD. I would like to say that in our governance board meeting last Thursday, there was some talk about going back to our original plan of one countywide dispatch center. With the new leadership in the sheriff's department and with a new safety director coming up, we feel that there's a renewed interest in possibly going back to that one centralized dispatch center, which they brought me on as a project manager to make a plan for. The plan still exists. When the plan stopped was at the point where we asked both the sheriff and the city to turn over their dispatch centers to our governance board to create this 911 dispatch center. And at that point in time, we had a lease agreement set up, and at that point in time, neither agencies, even though verbally they said they wanted to do this, neither agencies at that time wanted to sign that lease agreement and continue on with this process of a countywide dispatch center. We feel now that there could be renewed hope. As I have talked to the people involved, it's something that you just can't say there's renewed hope, you gotta bring it out. We can't continue to talk about this. We had a 2-hour meeting in the governance board, and we still made no decision on which way to go. And what I mean by that is the second part of what we're doing is the 800 radio system. You know that the county and the city own a very expensive 800 megahertz radio system bought by both county dollars, federal dollars, and state funding. I won't put a number on it. You're probably looking at a $20 million system. That is, sooner or later, will become antiquated. They will not design updates for it any further. So you and the city own that, and unfortunately, as we go in this county, not everything is coordinated. You have North Canton, who has an 800 megahertz radio system that they're operating off of Marks, so you still can't talk to each other like you should be. Canton Township, through a grant, brought 800 radios. They're talking about going to Marks. Again, you can't talk to each other. Alliance has an 800 radio system that is with the county and city radio system. So we're still out there not coordinated to bring into one radio system. Although, just like one dispatch center, I believe one radio system is very, very important for the county. We have met, Commissioner Burnaby and myself and the Sheriff, Bruce McAllister, met with Darrell Anderson, who is the Executive Director of Marks, and we told him we wanted to have a firm number on what it would cost this county to join Marks, to be a part of Marks, lose our controller, and they would have the controller. We needed to know how many of the 10 towers would be needed to get in-building coverage for our fire department and police department. We gave him a map of where all of our towers are, and I just received word yesterday that those maps are completed to see what the coverage would be, and I'm going to get a meeting with Darrell and probably Commissioner Burnaby and myself and somebody from the county sheriff's department and the city who own the radio system to see how that coverage is. And at that time, he will tell us that he needs 5, 6, 4, 3, however many towers he thinks he needs to be able to give the coverage that we're requesting. There's 2 different programs that they offer. One is Tier 2 and the other is Tier 5. We sort of eliminated Tier 5 just for the fact that we thought it would be much more costly for us to be in a Tier 5. That's where we own our own controller, we buy our own controller, and that is a costly amount of money.
Can we continue all maintenance? We have all maintenance
That's correct.
responsibilities.
A Tier 2, in which a lot of counties now are going to the Tier 2, if let's say we have 5 towers that they think they need to upgrade, and when we talk about upgrade, we need to upgrade to what we call a 7X platform P25 system, which is the newer and best system available in technology. So if we upgraded, we would have to pay for the upgrade of those towers. Let's say the upgrade of 5 towers would cost us $2 million. It costs the county $2 million. The Marks would rebate to us half of that cost for the upgrade of those towers. And they would rebate it in a form of let me step back one. If you were on Marks, you would pay $20 a radio a month for every radio that is connected to Marks. They would rebate that cost until the $1 million was gone. So you wouldn't get $1 million back in money. You just wouldn't have to pay $1 million in radio fees. You would get a rebate for that. So you would upfront pay for the cost of the upgrading of the towers, and in return you would get a rebate for half of that. Now, understanding that the $20 a radio is paid for by Maslin, is paid for by Alliance, so that rebate, you'd have to decide that rebate wouldn't directly come back to you, who is putting out that money, so you'd have to work that out.
Is it a rebate or a credit?
It's a
Credit, yeah,
So there wouldn't
credit.
have to be.
Be credit against the money, you never see the money again.
Right.
Just
Right.
credit against future fees.
Right. You don't see the money. You pay it up front, you don't really see the money, you just don't pay up to that. again, after this meeting we have with Darryl, I hope we get that together in the next week or so, if not sooner, this week, if not next week. We would have to determine how many towers. He would tell us how many towers he needs. They have 3 towers here in the county, and
We have how many?
we have 10.
And
We
they
being
could
the county
But
and
they're
city.
not all needed, though.
Right, but they could use the existing towers, I guess.
We think so. They'd have to look at them, make sure they're high enough, but we think that they would be able to use them again. They have to be the right height. Right now, Marks is on the tower at AEP, the big tower on AEP. We have our city tower right on City Hall. We have a tower at Cromer, and then there's 8 other towers that exist in the county. So we would have to determine how many towers we would need, and how much that update would cost us. Now, once we went to P25, once we agreed with Marks, once we paid for the upgrade of the towers, our only fee left from that point on is the $20 a radio a month for
Ongoing fees, but there are capital costs associated with when you go to that new platform, you also have to upgrade the dispatching
That's correct.
consoles.
That's correct. But from a radio, I guess the point I was making is that there would be no maintenance fees. There would be no upgrades, no more the care of the towers. The Marks would take care of the towers if anything happened to the towers. They would take care of all the maintenance fees. Now, if we went to a P25,
We have to upgrade all of our radios though too, to come up to the new.
yeah, they're all capable, but you would have to upgrade. And again, when we talk about you as a county, you as the commissioners don't own any radios. Your sheriff department owns radios. Maslin owns a radio. Maslin doesn't have 800s, but North Canton owns radios. They're already at, no, they'd have to upgrade because nobody's at P25 yet.
Maslin doesn't have any 800s?
No.
They didn't take any of those handhelds?
Well, I'm sorry, they have those.
Right. Okay.
But those are in question about whether they could be upgraded to P25, and however, they don't have enough that would, for their needs, both Maslin and Jackson. Now, both Maslin and Jackson have applied for a grant. They haven't gotten back whether they've got that grant or not yet. They're hoping they do, but it's been a while, so I'm not sure if they, I'm not sure they're optimistic about getting that grant. So everybody would have to pay that $20. I'm sorry, we were talking about the dispatch centers. If I have a workstation here, I'm working now off of what they call an old Gold Elite workstation, which is the technology that helps you with the CAD and helps you with dispatching, and you dispatch over different radio frequencies, the 400 or the 450s or whatever all these dispatch centers have. If you're going to upgrade to a P25 and everybody's on that radio system, you have to upgrade that to what they call an MCC 7500. That is what will dispatch a P25 7X platform radio. At that, we got a bid for 20 of those workstations at $1.4 million for 20 of those workstations. Now, you don't have 20. The sheriff has 5, the city has 5, and Red Center has 5. CENTCOM probably has 2, and the other ones probably have 1. But you cannot dispatch a P25 radio over the old Gold Elite radios. You have to have this new radio, this new workstation. Now, again, that's a cost for the city of Canton, that's a cost for Red Center, that's a cost for the county sheriff. I don't see the commissioners picking that cost up unless you wanted to.
Well, at the point in time we develop enough information, and we don't have it yet, this next meeting on the towers is important,
Yeah.
but we're just try to, prepare a working paper that shows all the parameters of all the costs, both countywide and by relative individual jurisdiction, and all the areas that need to have capital raised in order to upgrade to this.
Now, from the radio system standpoint, the one other expense that you'll have, probably on an annual basis, is your connection. You won't have a controller here any longer. Right now, your internal radio system in the county is controlled by a controller, which sits in the Canton Communications Center, but is connected to the sheriff's office. You would no longer need that or have that, but you would need a connection probably to Lake County. Lake County is a primary site for Marks. Darrell was saying instead of going down to the stop in Columbus, that we would go to the Lake County. We would have to make a connection there. I'm not sure, there's different, we have a company here in the county called Agile.
Yeah.
We'd have to look and see what that cost would be to make that connection to, it would be the connection, not of each tower, but a connection of like our controller to their controller. I am not sure, I have no idea what that cost would be. We need to research that again. I think our primary, like Commissioner Burnaby said, our primary goal right now is to see how many towers and see what that cost would be. And then we would go to, see what our cost would be to go to Lake County. Now, our radio system in this county is probably good for a long period of time, and by that, what I mean is 4 or 5 years. I mean, I don't know that the urgency to move to the MARC system is really based on the age of your system. I think your system can last for 4 or 5 years, and I don't think you need to say, we need to go to MARCs because the system is going to break down today. I think you need to say, we need to go to MARCs because right now you're spending about $400,000 a year in maintenance fees for your radio system. Now that's split between you and the city somehow. I don't know what that agreement is.
Well, just the maintenance, plus you have all the costs of maintenance of the towers and so forth.
Yes.
We probably spend $750,000.
At one point in time, I was given an estimate of about $700,000 to keep maintenance on the maintenance fees and to keep your towers upgraded, or maintenance of your towers and all of the other things. So the urgency is not necessarily, do I need to do this year, as much as can I see the fact that I can save $700,000 by going to MARCs now, rather than to spend that over a 5-year period of time. You know, so yours is probably more of a financial review to say, I'm better off moving now, and I can save some money, even though it's going to cost me some money up front. In the long run, I can save some money.
Yeah, again, it's not an issue of urgency, it's an issue of just immediacy of planning. The real push comes to shove is whether our system is good for 5 years or 10 years. I'm going to say currently a ballpark $20 million system. The next system and the next set of upgrades will probably cost $25, $30 million, possibly more.
I have no idea
The
what.
point of that is, if that date is 5 years from now or 10 years from now, where is, all political subdivisions in county government going to come up with a $30 million, capital outlay, whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now? So we need to start planning this.
Right.
If
I
we
would agree.
stay with what we have, or if we want to do our own system, we have to start setting aside that kind of money and do a sinking fund in order to buy it. Or we can start looking at MARCs right now as an alternative to it.
I agree. The urgency is the planning, is the planning and how financially beneficial it is one way or the other. I think that's the urgency versus, do I have a good system or I have a bad system? I think you have a good system. I mean, the system works. The 800 radio system works. Unfortunately, it was too bad that you don't have more agencies on the system. Massillon and Jackson would love to, but we're talking. They're talking. You're looking at quite a bit of money for each radio, so they'd have to buy. They don't have 800 radios, other than what was given to them by the federal grant, but those are minimal radios. They're looking at wanting to buy all new 800 radios. I forget the number, $3,000–4,000 a radio. I mean, they're not cheap. And so there's one thing to get your system prepared and your towers ready for a P25 800 megahertz system, and the other thing is to make sure that the agencies have the funding available to them to get on that 800 radio system. That's the other part of this whole picture. Now, again, if Massillon and Jackson, North Canton got a grant to get their radios. I believe Alliance, I know Canton Township got a grant. I'm not sure if Alliance got a grant to do theirs or not.
Where's the grants come from?
I think the fire grant is what, police don't have a grant opportunity usually. I think it's the fire grant, it's a federal grant, Homeland Security grant. Tim Worsler has some state grants available also that he has done radios. I mean, you have the whole Stark State system. on radios, 800 radios that is in your system. You have startup that is in your system with 800 radios. So there's, and the good thing about Marks now, initially Marks wasn't going to allow non-safety force people on their system, but then now they are allowing service departments. I think your county sanitation department is on 800 radios. I know most of the service departments in the city of Canton are on 800 radios. They weren't going to allow those licenses for servicing. Now that they're on both 800 and 700 megahertz, they opened up to 700. They're allowing the service departments also to join in. So what that means is that everybody that's on an 800 radio service today in the county, be it safety or service, would have the ability to go over to the Mark system if that's the direction we're in.
And while I'm thinking about, why don't you give a call up to Summit County and talk to their radio director again and find out where they are today. We visited them probably a year or a year and a half ago, and at that time they were in a parallel situation to what we're in, and they have a very, very good cell phone 800 megahertz system, and
Right.
the same as we do. At that time, they were very forceful in their argument that they should continue to maintain theirs and in fact replace theirs with their own money. And they were recommending to us that we should strongly look at that, even though we were talking to them about their Marks alternative. And as far as I'm understanding from the visit we made to the state, that Summit County has now sent a letter to the state of Ohio, to the Marks Board, expressing interest in participating in it, and probably for the same financial parameters that we're concerned about, and that is the long-term, very large capital costs associated with maintaining your own system as opposed to going to a shared system. So let's find out where they are on that bill, because I think their planning is probably parallel with ours.
Mark's got $80 million funding from the state, but it was more of a grant type of funding, so that would help them upgrade all their towers. But once you got onto their towers, they had to pay that money back. It wasn't a gift in a sense. So they're using that money to go ahead and move toward the new upgrades, and they want as many agencies as they can get on that system, and the system is large enough to handle every safety forces in the state of Ohio. I mean, that's how big the system is. So it is a Motorola system, which was basically what we purchased down here.
You mentioned Sheriff, City, Red Center. Where's CENTCOM in this whole thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess that was my best answer. I don't know. We've never, in the beginning we had some contact. Rich Peterson seems to, he's doing his own thing, which